Hey, what's up? It's Bond, and today I want to talk about the PS5 Pro and some new rumors or speculation, depending on how you look at it, that has released on Friday night that I didn't get to talk about in my podcast. So I figured I would talk about it here. I have a lot to say, and maybe even a little bit of crow to eat. First, if you like video game news, console rumors, speculation, all of that, please subscribe to this channel, like this video if you do, and leave me a comment down below to give me your opinion on some of this stuff. So to jump right into it, the rumors basically have started from a YouTube channel called Moore's Law is Dead, a pretty well-known tech channel, as well as reporting by Tom Henderson of Insider Gaming, who's a person who releases a lot of information before it's official. I don't necessarily want to say they're a noted industry leaker because I would say about a quarter of the stuff that they say actually ends up coming true. But the rumors, they've been talking about PS5 Pro stuff for quite a while. So basically, information has come to these people that is insinuating a few things. I'll get to the numbers first, and then we'll go from there. So the rumor is that the new PS5 Pro that is supposed to come out in late 2024 or early 25 is going to have rendering that's up to 45% faster than PS5, 2 to 3 times ray tracing, 4 times in some cases, 33.5 teraflops, PSSR, which is PlayStation Spectral Super Resolution Upscaling, DLSS equivalent, basically. Support for resolutions in gaming up to 8K in a future SDK, custom machine learning architecture, AI accelerator supporting 300 tops of 8-bit computation. I have no idea what that means, and which is equivalent, I guess, to 67 teraflops of processing power. So there's a lot of numbers here. I'm going to be totally honest. I won't pretend like I know everything about everything here. But I do need to point out some stuff that I think is kind of weird. Okay. So I went on kind of a tirade on Twitter about this, saying that this is just sounds like bull crap. I will say I had multiple people come into my DMs in the industry and kind of give me like a wink and be like, hey, you may not want to go too hard against this, insinuating that, and from the people it came from, that there's probably at least some truth to this stuff. My issue isn't necessarily with the idea that the PS5 Pro is going to be really powerful. That wouldn't surprise me at all. In fact, I would say that's pretty much assumed and expected, right? What I'm annoyed about is the way that it's being put out because all of those numbers I just said, that's all marketing crap. The only thing that has a little bit of legitimacy, in my opinion, is the rendering number saying that it can render 45% faster. That's the most baseline number where you can say that its general computing power is going to be almost 50% better than the PS5. Everything else, like this, one of the things here says 2 to 3 times ray tracing, 4 times in some. What does that mean? That means nothing. 2 to 3 times what? Like I assume 2 to 3 times the PS5 performance and 4 times in some cases, but what does that mean? And there's something else to that I'll come back to. 33.5 teraflops. For comparison, the Series X and the PS5 OG, I believe were a little over 10 teraflops in their rating. I believe the Series X was technically higher, but they're basically the same machine. Again, teraflops is a funny thing that especially the more tech oriented folks kind of point out that it's like a stupid measure. It doesn't mean anything, but whenever that number benefits whoever is talking, they always make sure to point it out. The PlayStation DLSS basically is an interesting one. I've talked about this before where NVIDIA is really the only ones doing this frame generation stuff really well. AMD is struggling even after years and years of doing it. FSR3, which is their tech, is better than the other ones, but NVIDIA still kicks everyone's butts. And I'm just a little skeptical about how good PlayStation, which is a relatively small company. People don't realize that in the greater tech industry, They aren't very big, especially when if the tip top of of that tech is done by Nvidia, who is hilariously big, one of the biggest companies in the world, compared to Sony or PlayStation individually. Nvidia has departments that are bigger than Sony that you've never heard of. It's like stuff like that that you need to realize. So it is cool that they're working on their own kind of this tech. I'm concerned of how good that's really going to be and what the use of it is going to be. Third party games won't have a ton of incentive to do it if they can just use FSR3 instead and it's just as good, which the PlayStation will also support. So it's definitely going to be one of those first party focus things. And then it kind of doesn't matter to a point. Support for resolutions up to 8K. Like, this is just silly. That is not happening. Maybe using the DLSS stuff, but no one needs that. Very few people are even truly gaming at 4K at this point, let alone 8K, which I've never even seen an 8K TV, and I never want to, if you want me to be honest. The custom machine learning architecture, that's just tech speak, an AI accelerator, almost doubling the teraflops. My assumption is that this is pushing the DLSS stuff. It's in that same vein of doing, resolution scaling, doing frame generation and stuff like that, where, I mean, maybe this could be really cool. What I really want to get at is that all of these gains have to come from somewhere. It's extremely unlikely that this isn't going to be an AM4 based AMD machine. Maybe they would bump it up to the next, the newest standard, the AM5 standard. I really doubt that, because that would basically be what I expect from the PlayStation 6. So when they're talking about having this like 50% bump in power, all these ray tracing things, the thing to know is that the current Series X and PlayStation 5 is about the equivalent of a Ryzen 5 5600 and a RTX 3060 and NVIDIA 3060, or a 6650 XT AMD GPU. And those, they're not current. They're definitely older tech at this point by a few years. But there's no tech that has come out since then that would do this realistically, especially affordably. I mean, sure, they could put in the top tier, 5900X 3D whatever CPU, and the equivalent to one of the brand new AMD GPUs. But then you'd be talking about a console that's over $1,000, probably closer to 1,500, and especially with Sony, who never tends to give discounts, probably more than that. So I just don't, unless this thing is legitimately going to be $1,000, I just don't know where they're getting all this power from, right? The other thing is the ray tracing is 2 to 3 times ray tracing performance, up to 4 times, not from an AMD GPU, not from AMD tech. That's one of the biggest hits against AMD, is that its performance in ray tracing is pretty bad, or it's at least not up to par to the competition. And that's the other thing about all of the AI stuff and the machine learning and all of that. That's not what AMD specializes in. They're not best at that. Maybe we get some big announcement that PlayStation is jumping off AMD and going to Nvidia or something. I have no idea. But I guess the gist of this for me is that I don't doubt in any way, shape, or form that there's a PS5 Pro coming, that it's going to be really powerful. It's probably going to be a problem for Xbox for a while, if they aren't doing a mid-gen refresh, and if their next system isn't coming out till 2026. That this is going to be the clear leader in the game industry for consoles when it comes to power. But something about it, it just basically seems too good to be true, in my opinion. And I think that if all of this happens to be true and I have to really eat crow, there's a reason they're leaving out any speculation about price, because this thing is going to be hilariously expensive. But people will probably pay for it. These Pro consoles are often not really meant to be big sellers anyways. The PS4 Pro, this the Xbox One X were both great systems, didn't sell that well. And the big thing with those is that they brought people 4K gaming at 60 FPS. Uh, there's a lot of people who've been wondering what mid-gen refreshes from Xbox or PlayStation would even do in this gen. And it seems like right here, honestly, the goal of all this power and all this bragging is probably basically to consistently get to games to play at 4K 60 FPS, even if it's using some magic. So I don't know. I guess we'll see. I mean, I'm sure we'll find out this summer. We'll get some announcements and we'll see how it actually plays out. I would be surprised if all these rumors end up being completely true, but I was checked by enough people who I trust to pull back the reins a little bit on my skepticism. So we'll find out. So let me know what you think down in the comments. If you like this video, hit the like button and consider subscribing. If you really want to support all the content I do, including these videos, you can become a YouTube member for just a couple bucks a month and get some really cool perks like early videos and a little tag showing that you're supporting the channel when you make comments. I am all over the internet as Bond Diesel. You can check out the rest of my catalog right here on YouTube. You can also catch me over on Twitch, where I stream a few times a week. And you can also check out all the other content I make at the link in the description below. That's all I have for this one. So until next time.